Guys, if you're excited to find out what happens in the last batch of episodes for season 4, part 2 of you are in for an amazing ride. But before that, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's get talking on what exactly happened. So if you're here right now, I'm sure you've either watched the show or you've already heard that there's this crazy twist that happens. I don't know about you guys, but I was not expecting this twist at all. I was totally caught off guard and I was pleasantly surprised. It was a twist that makes sense. It's a progression of what happens to Joe from season 1, episode 1 to the end of season 4. We find out exactly how Joe Goldberg became Jonathan Moore, and the journey is exciting. It's nerve-wracking. You're like biting your nails trying to figure out what's going to happen next. And can I say this? If Penn Badgley is the heart and soul of you, Ed Spielers as Reese Montrose is a worthy counterpart. The scenes these two guys have, Penn Badgley, Ed Spielers, Jonathan Moore, aka Joe Goldberg, and Reese Montrose, are the highlight of this season. Each scene is dramatic, each scene is important, each scene takes you on a ride. It's an emotional roller coaster, and I loved every minute of it. So we all know that Joe has done some pretty heinous crimes: stalking, kidnapping, murder, an accessory to murder. He's done it all. And while he's done these acts, we've also gone through periods of lull where he's ruminating over what he's done, how he's going to escape, what has led him to this point, and maybe even relative normalcy periods where he's just an English professor. But during all of these events, the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly, we have had Penn Badgley's inner dialogue to keep us on track. We basically have always gotten a firsthand account of what he's thinking, what he's doing, why he's doing it, who his next target is, why is it his target, what is drawing him to do these things. We have known every sleeping and waking thought that Joe has. But in the last batch of these episodes for season 4, we get an in-depth look of just how this ride has been for him and what toll it's taken mentally. Forget about the physical aspect of it, but mentally, this guy has been through the ringer. His psyche is bruised and battered. He has lost touch with reality. He is hallucinating. He has delusions, and they all come to a head. And the shift in demeanor that Penn Badgley displays when he has lost touch with reality is pretty commendable. His body language is different. He's darker. There's a cold energy about him. His facial expressions, or basically the lack of facial expressions, these eyes that are like dark as coal, they're like lifeless when they stare at you. I think that's the best part of this portrayal. He makes it believable. You see the shift that happens from this charming, cool, seemingly cool, collected guy to this guy who has lost touch with reality, is trying to make sense of what is happening, and he's trying to prevent another series of murders from taking place. Obviously, the whodunit was solved in the first batch of these episodes. We already know that Reese Montrose is the guy that has set Penn Badgley up. He is the one committing murders, and he's trying to frame Joe because obviously he has some dirt on him. When these batch of episodes begin, we see this dilemma Joe is in. He's trying to figure out how to take Reese Montrose down, and he comes face to face with Reese multiple times in an effort to outwit him. For Reese, Joe is that companion he's always wanted. He's that friend that can understand why he does what he does. And for Joe, Reese is a monster. He's on this killing spree, killing innocent people for no rhyme or reason, aside from political gain. We also see that Joe is keeping a distance from Kate. Now, Kate is this brooding, beautiful socialite who comes from a very wealthy family but has a deep, dark secret of her own and wants nothing to do with her father. Charlotte Ritchie as Kate is really compelling as well. She has this chemistry with Penn Badgley that's great to see, and this inner turmoil that she experiences of wanting to be a good person, wanting to rid herself of her family name and baggage is something that I think a lot of people can relate to when they want nothing to do with the family they come from. But obviously, this is Joe's world, and nothing is as it seems. Reese needs him to take out Tom, and now who is Tom? Tom is Kate's father, and he has some dirt on Reese that can ruin his political career. And when Joe meets Tom, Tom has another proposal for him, and that is to take Reese out. If Reese is gone, Joe's life can turn back to normal. So what happens? Joe goes and murders Reese, of course. And that is when this show takes a huge turn, and the turn is nothing but excitement and thrill, because it is at this exact moment that we realize that Reese Montrose has had nothing to do with the murders, has had no contact with Penn Badgley, and has not been the mastermind we think he is. In fact, all the conversations Joe has had with Reese is a figment of his imagination. They're hallucinations that he's had. You know those cartoons where we've had an angel on one side and a devil on the other side, and you're out in the middle trying to figure out which way to go and why? Basically, here, Reese is Joe's devil, his inner conscience, his inner drive, this emotion that Joe has pent up, this desire to kill, this obsession. Reese is the manifestation of all of that. This, along with the revelation of what exactly has happened to Marianne, has been a highlight for me. Tati Gabrielle is the actress who plays Marianne, and I think she does a tremendous job. Her narration of the story of the nightingale and the fox is beautiful, is full of emotion, is full of ups and downs. Is basically a mother telling her daughter what has happened to her. And boy, does Marianne display a gamut of emotions: the fear, the struggle, the fight, giving up, the emotional upheaval, the emotional turmoil someone may experience in isolation while starving is pretty daunting. It also further reiterates just how far down the rabbit hole Joe has gone. And this is actually the first time in the entire series, I think, that I wanted Joe to be caught. I wanted him to have some kind of punishment, some kind of reckoning that you cannot carry on doing this. And I think the nice part is that Joe himself realizes this. And how does he come to this conclusion? Well, his first obsession, Beck, and his wife, Love, make an appearance. They basically tell him, you are toxic, you are dangerous, you are a murderer, you cannot change, and you are going to continue on this path no matter where you go and who you're with. Joe tries to be a good guy. He wants to be a good guy. He thinks he's a good guy, but he really isn't. And this weighs heavily on him. So heavily, in fact, that he tries to make amends with Marianne, all to see his efforts go down in vain when she dies of a peanut allergy. I think it's at this point that he realizes there is no light at the end of the tunnel. I am bad for Kate. He has murdered Kate's father as well. And so he knows that no good will ever come from him being with her. And then we see Joe succumb to these feelings. He jumps off the bridge, and then you're left thinking that, damn, is this the end of Joe Goldberg? Is this the end of the series? If not, where is this series heading? Who is going to be the focus of you now? But no worries, because Joe survives this fall. He survives, and when Kate comes in front of him, he pours his heart out to her. He tells her he has committed murders. He tells her that he's a bad guy. He tells her that he's afraid that he cannot change. And Kate is stoic. She takes all this in like he's reading a bedtime story. She tells him that if she is redeemable, so is he. If he can keep her in check, she will promise to do the same. And together, they can be a power couple, they can be a positive couple, and they can do good for the world. And by the end of this season, this is where we're at. They are a new power couple. They are the it couple. And they give interviews about their relationship, their friends' murders, and where they're going from here. And here we see Joe walk towards a window. He's basically talking about how amazing his girlfriend is and what kind of great work she can do and how all they want to do is spread positivity in the world. But this is Joe. And when Joe looks out the window, he sees a reflection of himself. And that is his inner self. Because no matter where he goes, he's the same Joe Goldberg. I think this is a great scene to leave the viewers with at the end, because if Joe was able to commit all these murders, get away with all these murders, with relative no resources, no money, no reputation backing him, what will happen now when he has tremendous wealth at his disposal? And we all know wealth is power. And if you have power, you can get away with a lot of things. Could the pacing have been a little better towards the end of the series? Yes, I do think the final episode was a little drawn out. I do think the way they finished things with his student Nadia was a little circumspect. Basically, it was like, here, we need to end this character's journey right now, so let's get a little bow and let's tie a ribbon and call it a day. But aside from that, I love the inner dialogue. I love the screenplay. I love the characters. I love the focus on mental health this season. Not only Joe's descent into losing touch with reality, we see Marianne struggle as a captive mother who wants to get back to her daughter. And then we also see Phoebe. We see the mental trauma she goes through by experiencing all these murders happening around her, but being in a relationship that she's not sure where the future is going. So we see the ups and downs she goes through as well. And I think this focus on mental health in this series is a great one, because obviously a lot of these characters are going through a lot of different things, and it is going to affect their emotions. It is going to affect the way they view the world, and it is going to affect the way they see themselves. In the end, I'd like to just say that you has always had this looming question: is Joe's character redeemable? Is he a character that allows us to brush aside all of the murders, all of the killings, all of the illegal things he's done? Is there some kind of loss, punishment that he can experience that makes us be on his side and not feel bad about it? Well, I'm sure season 5 is going to let us delve into these questions some more. But until then, comment down below and let me know what you thought of this season. What do you think about Joe and Kate's relationship? Where do you think he goes from here? And how amazing was that twist, guys? Did you see it coming? Because I didn't. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time with another video. Bye!